Sometimes lines are parallel, and parallel lines, they're like railroad tracks. They have the same, distance apart between them. So if you look at it a little closer, your rise and run, it's the same for both lines. So the slopes are the same. Slopes are equal. So if we call this line 1 and line 2, then the slope of line 1 equals the slope of line 2. Parallel lines have the same slope. They're not going to intersect. Okay. Sometimes we have perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines do two things. They cross, but they don't just cross any old which way. Like, these are not perpendicular lines, okay? They have to make a right angle, okay, when they cross. So that has to be 90 degrees. But if they do that, then they're perpendicular lines. So let's say this is line 1 and this is line 2. Line 1 and line 2 have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Slopes are opposite. I'll talk about that in a minute. Reciprocals. They have to be opposite, so you've got to have one going in the negative direction and one going in a positive direction. Otherwise, you're not going to get them to cross, okay? Well, you could get them to cross, but they won't be perpendicular. So they have to be opposite. So one's positive and one's negative on the slopes. But then the slopes have to be reciprocal. So see how this one's kind of, more steep and this one's more flat? That's what's happening. So if the slope, say the slope of line 1 here, say the slope of line 1 is equal to 1/2. Then the slope of line 2 would be equal to negative, it's got to be the opposite sign, 2. Okay? Another way they'll say it sometimes is if you take the two slopes, m1 times m2, it's going to always equal a -1 if they're perpendicular. Okay? So I always think of it as opposite reciprocals, but you can also use this test as well. So say you have a line, let me scroll a little bit. Say you have a line that has a slope of 2/3, and you want a line that's perpendicular to that. Then the perpendicular line, that's the symbol for perpendicularity. The perpendicular line would have a slope of -3/2. Okay? If you had a line with a slope of -5, then the perpendicular line would have a slope of +1/5. Okay? So you can play around with that, but we'll see some examples.